Hey, inspirers, where will you be on the other side of fear? On the other side of your mountain, on the other side of the hurdle that took you out of the race? What if the setback that amputated your old path is the invitation to elevate your next one? Well, welcome to the Amputate to Elevate Success podcast. I'm your host, John Register, and here we don't talk about bouncing back. We talk about amputating what no longer serves us so that we can elevate to what's next. Today's guest is Ross Bernstein, a man who's interviewed the world's greatest athletes to discover what separates the good from the great and the champions from everyone else. His work is rooted in one truth: character matters. And how we win is just as important as winning itself. We take the lessons from the keynote and apply them to the corporate boardroom during our conversation. And if this message hits home, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this with someone who needs a lift today. Today's episode of the Amputate to Elevate podcast is proudly sponsored by Inspired Communications International, where stories spark transformation and speakers become change makers. Founded by Paralympic silver medalist and global speaker John Register, oh, that's me. ICI provides and empowers leaders to communicate with purpose, train speakers to own their own message, and connects world-class voices with world-changing platforms. Whether you're looking to elevate your team or your stage presence, Inspired Communications International is your launchpad for impact. Okay, Amputate to Elevate Success begins right here, right now. I have an amazing guest today. He is one of the most incredible people. I can't believe he's even here because he just like speaks all over the world, literally all over the world. And I want to just welcome him because he is just one of those individuals that we all need to know. He is a best-selling author of nearly 50 sports books. He is an award-winning peak performance business speaker who has keynoted, get this, on all 7 continents for audiences as small as 10 and as large as 10,000. He and his books have been featured on thousands of television and radio programs over the years, including CNN, ESPN, Fox News, CBS This Morning, as well as in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and USA Today, which just came back. I'm so glad they're back. Please welcome to Amputate to Amplify Life podcast, the global influencer, the worldwide keynoter, the one who crafts champions in business and life, the indelible Ross Bernstein.
Wow. Wow. I'm just going to bring you to introduce me wherever I go. You'd be like my hype man. This would be amazing, right? It's so good
Absolutely.
to see you, John. Thank you for having me on. You're one of my favorite people and someone I look up to in this business. So I am honored to be here, my friend. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
likewise, the circle is complete, brother. I appreciate you and everything that you do. Okay, I begin this podcast with a very simple question that tends to take us in a lot of different directions. You're writing a book. This book is entitled The Meeting Professional's Anarchist Guide to Destroying Your Next Event. What might one of your chapter titles be?
Hiring a prima donna diva speaker to come mess things up, right? You know, I,
Hiring
I
the prima donna.
I love how you reverse engineer it and you go this direction. I like where this is going. You know, I've been a member of MPI, Meeting Professionals International, for more than a decade.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy going to MPI meetings and events and like you sitting with those CMPs, sitting with those professional meeting event organizers and learning about what they like about the AV teams and the speakers and the F&B and all the hoteliers and just the business of in our world speaking, but in their world, the business of putting together a meeting. And I know that, you know, just from hearing a lot of their conversations over the years that they are, you know, these are people who are incredibly stressed out. As speakers, sometimes we think we're the most important piece, but we're just
Right.
one small piece, an important piece, but it's just a small piece. But I always look at every event like a wedding. Like we're like the flowers, right? There's the venue and there's there's so many different touch points and things, and a lot of times these professionals they're like offensive linemen in football. You only notice them when they screw up, right? You get a holding call on a big drive, and it's like, oh, and it's like you could be doing perfect the entire time, but in their world, if the room is too cold, if the coffee isn't ready, if the Wi-Fi isn't working, if the AV isn't perfect, these are all these little things that keep them awake at night. So it's our jobs as professional speakers to try and help them make their jobs as easy as possible. And I think that just means don't be a diva, don't be a prima donna, just be easy and get there early, stay late, and help out any way you can. And if that works, then that's success in our world, right?
I think one of the things that you said, I love the chapter, Don't Be the Prima Donna, is I had the events when I was working for the United States Army and the Better Opportunity for Single Soldiers program. I was the person to help to put on as a conference professional, the 1,000-person conference, global conference, everybody come in worldwide. And you're right. All I want to know is the speaker there? Are they ready? Do I have their slides? What do they need? And, then I'm on to the next thing. Because there's so many things that we are working on in that moment. And I think what happens is I began to take that into the speeches now as I do as a professional speaker. And I remember what that was like. And I know that they're juggling 1,000. The bus didn't show up. They didn't, the conference, contract, something happened and they're being double charged with stuff. And there are 1,000 things that are going on. So I love that. But we're the flowers. And don't be the dead flowers, right? So that is kind of the other piece of it as well.
We think we're the bride and groom, but we're not. We're barely the flowers, right?
We're really not. So when you've been around a while, and you're a Hall of Fame speaker, you are a certified speaking professional, which is to say something, because not a lot of folks in the world have that title of certified speaking professional. So you should know some things as you look at leadership styles, right? Having spoken on 7 continents, you've encountered diverse audiences. When we're thinking about C-suite leaders, executives who are running these conferences, how do we maintain that peak performance under high pressure conditions in the meetings and events industry?
I think it's being a professional, right? It's showing up every day, regardless of the size of the event, regardless of the location. I mean, we've all been at an amazing venue. I remember one time I was the keynoter at an event with thousands of people in Hong Kong. I had like the penthouse suite at the Ritz-Carlton. Like 2 days later, I was in like the back of a bowling alley somewhere in like Kentucky. And it's like, this is our world. But you know what? We got to deliver the same presentation, be the same professional. And it's like you can't just pick and choose the stuff that's just convenient for you. So I think, what does it mean to be a professional? It's all the little things you talked about. I mean, John, you're a rock star speaker. You're very humble, and you've gone through incredible adversity and been an Olympian and you've been a military officer. I mean, I'm in awe of the things you've done, and how you translate that back to being a professional is what it's all about. And people, they know that like you're going to show up and you're going to deliver. And it doesn't matter if you're sick or tired or injured, you show up. In my world, in sports, you show up, right? It doesn't matter. No one cares. Like, you need to deliver. You have to perform. The adrenaline will kick in. We've been on stage where we are sick and we don't want to be there, but it's like, you just go. Get on that plane, go. And make sure that we solve other people's problems. And if these meeting planners are stressed out, that means be easy, right? You email them all your stuff. You text them when you arrive. It's all these little things. You show up early, bring them coffee, and right? Hand out boxes with, well, first thing I do when I get there is, what can I do to help? I can lift heavy objects. Put me to work. You need me to put these on all the tables? Great. Let me know. Right. That's the stuff they're going to remember in the end. And of course you're going to kill it on stage, but if you're complaining about this or the lighting or that, it's like, you know what, just figure stuff out. These people are stressed out. And, I think that during COVID, a lot of this stuff came to light, because during COVID, all of a sudden these meeting planners, they were everything. They were the quarterback. They were running the AV. They were like coordinating everything. And I think we, as speakers, we were doing all these things as well. And we were realizing, wow, this is a lot of work. And that's when you realize, like, holy cow, there's just so many moving pieces to this event, and the pre-event and the post-event. And, ultimately, what makes a great meeting is all these things coming together, and there's going to be hiccups, but people want, they just want to get together, and that's what we do is, these meetings that we attend, they're not about the meeting. They're about getting people together, building relationships, drinking a beer, eating a steak, shaking hands, looking someone in the eye. It's hard to do that over Zoom. So when you come together and you do this, whether it's an in-person or hybrid or virtual event, it's just, how do you create that environment where everyone feels like they got value?
Yeah.
A lot of your listeners run associations, and you and I are an association, the National Speakers Association, and we have our event and we pay for it. So if there's a bad speaker, we're upset. If there's not good food, we're upset. So that keeps us grounded to say this is how every event is. And when we go, we understand like there's a lot of things happening and people volunteer and they put this together, and it's like, can you have empathy, and can you be a nice person? Can you just suck it up and say, you know what, let me just do this for you? And I think if by the laws of karma, the speakers that do that the best, they're the ones that are going to get booked. I've learned a long time ago, John, you don't have to be the best speaker. You have to be the easiest speaker to work with. You got to be the one that's the quickest, that's going to return phone calls the fastest. A lot of times that's the secret. It's not about being the best. There's people way better than me in this business. And when you're a top producer, you got to bring it every day. So I think it's all those little things that collectively make you a champion in my world, and a professional in their world. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you for that, Ross. Have you seen, like, when you talk about empathy and being easy to work with, have you seen a leader, like, is there somebody that pops up into your mind, somebody that's a CEO or vice president of sales, or somebody that kind of exemplifies those qualities? And what's been the result of that person leading in that type of forthrightness, so to speak?
As a journalist, I love studying, what it is that makes the great ones great, and then translating that to business. And I've been able to interview like thousands of professional athletes and coaches, and I love studying the top performers, and then what's unique about them. In our world, we get commoditized every day. There's a million leadership speakers, sales speakers, Olympians, authors. I mean, we just, we get commoditized. There's just a lot of people that do what we do. So how do you really differentiate yourself? And I think being easy, and being speedy, and just being nice. These are not skills that are Olympic level skills. These are things we learned that we've somehow gotten away from. So, you said earlier, you were talking about, these great athletes in a room of great athletes. Or you were talking about greatness in a room of greatness. And I'm not trying to shill a book, but I did this book called Wearing the Sea about great captains. And I interviewed hundreds of captains. And one of the things that struck me when you said that was, I remember interviewing Olympic team captains. So literally, to your point, these are a room full of captains. Like every single person in that room is the captain of their team. And now they have to take a step back and sort of listen to this one person who's been designated to wear the sea. And it's hard. It's like a really hard, because now you're the alpha male in front of a room of alpha males or females or whatever. So how do you do that? And I think it's being a great listener, right? It's doing all these little things. I had an event recently where I was, it was a sales conference in the medical device space, and there were, I don't know, maybe they had 500 of their salespeople there. 95% of them were Division I athletes. So this company very purposely hires and recruits people who understand what it takes to be on a team. They're good listeners. They're coachable. They can take criticism and feedback. They want to win. They're competitive. So I think finding those commonalities, we work with people all the time, and there's always that special meeting planner that's just so fun, so easy, delightful. They answer their phone, right? They get right back to you. They're just, they want to make things happen. I just, I can't think of an example of this person, but I'll tell you, I try and learn as much as I can. So as a result of these amazing people that I've worked with over the years, my contract, 2 sentences. That's it. I'm easy. Like, I'm one of the easiest speakers to work with. Great. We book a deal. I'm going to email you my simple agreement, my photo, my bio, my program description, my W-9, my introduction. Let me know what you need. I'll handle all my own travel. They love me because I'm so easy. Some speakers are like, they got like the 14-page contract and they need, all these things. And I need power. I need a projector to run my PowerPoint. That's it, man. I'll get there early. I'll stay late. And you want me to throw in a breakout? It'd be my pleasure. Don't monetize it. Just under promise, over deliver, be easy, be great on stage. I book 130 events a year. I don't do any marketing. It's just all word of mouth. If you're a jerk, word gets out. If you're easy, if you're really good on stage, you make people laugh, you make them feel good. Our job as speakers is to make sure that when people leave that conference, they go, man, I had a great time. I can't wait to come back next year.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And if you can't help do that, you're part of the problem, not the solution.
Yeah. What have you had to let go of, release, or amputate in your life in order to achieve some of the successes that you've had?
I would say being able to say no, which is a really hard thing. John, you and I go to our National Speakers Association conference every year, and it's like just the biggest fire hose, right? It's just 4 days of amazing speakers, breakout sessions, and your mind is blown, right? There's so many bright, sparkly squirrel, oh my God, things. You walk out of there and there's like, I got to do this, and I met this person, I got to follow up. And I'm at the other stage, kind of like you reverse engineer it. I'm not doing any of that. Like I don't bring a pen or a notebook. I just go to soak it all in, meet new friends, see my old friends, get to see you, hang out. And I'm very purposeful about saying, let's go grab a coffee, let's grab a beer, let's go in the pool, let's hang out, let's skip this and go hang out. And that to me is what it's all about. I travel with my wife everywhere, but on that conference, I go alone because I want to spend 24/7 being stupid in the lobby bar at 3 a.m, hanging out with my buddies. And I want to be present. And I've learned to say no to all these other side hustles. I don't do a podcast. I mean, God bless you. Yours is amazing, but I don't have time and I can't focus. I know how much time is involved to make it great. And you do that and I'm not willing to do that. So I don't do it. I don't do a blog. I don't train the trainer. I don't coach. I don't consult. I don't have an LMS, a learning management system, online university. I don't have a list. I don't have a CRM. I don't do anything. I just speak.
Yeah.
And I've decided that's what I want to do. And you know what? Sorry, go ahead.
No. I'll finish your thought. Yeah.
But I've learned to say no. And there's so many things that we feel like, well, I got to do that. So for me, what I've amputated is I've said, I'm not going to worry about all that. I'm going to do business the way I want to do business. And I'm good with that. And that's how I do it.
I love it. And I think that's such a great thing of the interweaving of why the National Speakers Association is so great, because you do have those individuals who are just kind of starting out, they're the thousandaires. And then you do have, folks on the other spectrum that they're making 8 figures, it's on everything that's in between. And you get a chance to hang out and talk to those individuals because people are have different models of success of what they've done. And so all of them have had to do one of those things of amputating something out of their life in order to amplify something else. So you have amplified, I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. And that is to speak. And that's it. I'm going to write. I'm going to speak. I'm going to write, speak, and one kind of just helps to develop the other in that. Have you seen, as you continue to evolve, has there been a person or an event or something that has come to you in your life that what I call adds oxygen? And so here's what I mean. I'll kind of set it up a little bit. I'll talk about in my presentations to CEOs or leaders after being the Amputee Coalition acting CEO for about 7 months. Is I began to look for those things that added life to me. And I talked at the beginning of the show, vitam sperare, which means breathe life. So as our Creator breathes life in us, I believe we have to breathe life in others. Who has been that person, or what experience have you had that has breathed life into you that allows you to thrive in your environment?
I love that question. I would say it's honestly, it would be the National Speakers Association, our group, because it's a very lonely business. We're on the road. just getting to do this, right? And just giving. That we have a saying in our business, it's sort of along the lines of high tides raise all ships, but we call it abundant generosity.
Hmm.
And you get by giving. So I love giving referrals to my friends. I love helping them. We saw each other a week ago in Minneapolis. You came to speak to our local chapter in Minnesota, where I live, of the National Speaker Association, and I got to hear your story, and I got to see you be amazing on stage, which is what you do, and inspire people. And the young speakers were taking copious notes, and I was just sitting back and watching you do what you do. And when you got into that part where you talked about your journey in that day, and when you had to decide to amputate your leg, and it was mesmerizing, and I was just like, oh man, this is just so powerful. And but you came for no fee, and you did it. And that's what we do, right? How do you give? How do you serve? How do you help other people? And I think that's the key, is when you so for me, is being around a room of givers, not takers.
Hmm.
And how can you give and serve and help people? I mean, that's the secret to business. And we've gotten away from that. So I think for me, that was the aha moment, is just, and more importantly, I'm going to say, bring one of your books and I'm going to introduce you to the planner. And that's the greatest handoff you can do, because they're in the buy-in mood at that point, right? Hopefully I'll do a great job, and afterwards, when I'm visiting, I'll be able to introduce you and say, hey, I don't know who your speaker is for your next event, but I want to introduce you to my buddy John.
Mm.
That's what we do,
Yeah.
man, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't cost
I've,
anything. It's, you don't monetize it. If you just help people, I just feel like that's the secret to success.
yeah, I've gone out and I actually took a flyer last year to go see another person. He coached my son in basketball at Montrose Christian High School, which is used to be one of the powerhouses. My son was playing the point guard for Kevin Durant. At that school, you got Mike Krzyzewski walking in the hallways
Wow.
and all the other big time names. And he hated me for we're bringing him to Colorado when I moved to start working for the Olympic Committee. But that's I think that abundant generosity is just that. It is showing up and really pouring into others. So I went to go see that gentleman who's now a professional speaker. And he was just speaking for a client, and I said, "Yeah, I'll come check you out and introduce you to other individuals." And he's like, he couldn't believe I actually showed up to his client. Right? I'm not asking for a gig or anything. And the other thing I shared with them is that I told him, I said, look, I'm not evaluating your speech. If you got this client, which is it's a Fortune 500 client, who am I to tell you how to do your business, man? You're doing it. So I just want to be able to see what you do so I can actually refer you and
Yeah.
know I can say this is how he shows up, how she shows up in the
Yeah.
marketplace. But I'm not going to say, well, you should take this out and put this in and
Yeah.
do, so I think that's the other piece. So when you look at Ross, like future trends that are coming in our industry, meetings industry, and you're around a lot of executives and CEOs. What are some of the things that you are seeing that is on the horizon that's breathing oxygen into this industry?
Well, with all due respect, let me reverse engineer it and say, here's the disruptions that I see
Yeah.
coming. I've been, that's the thing. Like, every industry is dealing with disruption. For me, originally it was Amazon, right? Like, books started dying. Like, I had to, like, Borders gone, B. Dalton gone, Walden Books gone, Chromebooks gone, Barnes and Noble hanging on by a thread, but selling more caramel macchiatos, board games, tchotchkes, greeting cards, and music than they are books, and Kindles, Nooks, Audibles, right? This is disruption if you're a writer. I mean, that was my before. See, as speakers, we all had a previous life. We all did something before we got to the point where we said we're able to go on stage and talk about it and get paid for it. My previous life was writing books. These weren't like business books. These were sports books. I wrote books for Christmas presents. That was my job. If I didn't write 2-3 books a year, I didn't eat. So I was very motivated to sell these books. It's not like speaker books that are just sort of business cards. So that was my first look into disruption. Like, I better get into speaking, right? It was a natural transition, but I had to go all in. And Now disruption in our world, it's everywhere. And I would start with the phones, right? No one picks up their phone anymore. Robocalls have killed phone conversations. I close deals over the phone. I get an email from a client saying, what do you charge? We're interested. I don't respond. I call them. I may block the call ID and call. I may call at 12:59 because I'm assuming at 1 o'clock they might have a bit important meeting with someone important, and they might pick up my call that says private caller. I mean, I will do whatever it takes so that I can talk to that person, even for a minute, to say, hey, I'm Ross. Thank you for your email. I'm available on your date. I would love to learn more about your event. Before I just spew you a number, tell me about your theme. It's a wedding. It's going to be incredible, right? What are you thinking? Like, how can I help make this even more amazing? I'm super easy to work with. I want them to hear my voice. I want them to hear how different I am. And if I can have that conversation, guess what? Probably a 75% chance I'm going to close that deal. If I can't talk to them, probably a 20% chance I close that deal. Phone calls, massive disruption. TED Talks, massive disruption. Why? Young people today, we've all done TED Talks. TED Talks are like 15 minutes. What can you and I do in 15 minutes? Not much, man. Oh, and what do you charge for 15 minutes? Like, this is scary, right? I'm like at least an hour, but preferably 2-3 hours. I'm going to go, bring energy, right? That's what I do. I tell you what, another big disruption is just political correctness right now. With, I had a conference just, I do 130 events a year. They're a broad range of business, but I had a group of 500 elementary school principals. And I was telling stories, and afterwards I got an email from someone saying, I was really disappointed because you were using, gender pronouns that I didn't think were appropriate. And you were using, when I was talking about my charity, I'd use some words that they were offended by, like disadvantaged, which I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to offend anyone, but so I called them and I said, I'm so sorry. Of course, that wasn't my intent. Help me understand what I said that was inappropriate. What would you recommend I say instead? So I could pacify that conversation and learn. Because we don't know. But this is a big thing that's coming. Young people communicate differently. Is it disruption? I don't know, but it's there. We need to learn. And so that's something that's I think a blind spot for a lot of people, just how we talk and communicate in this next gen of, I have a Gen Z at home, you do too. It's like they do things differently. Active shooters. This is a daily occurrence in our country. Every conference I'm at, I'm thinking, what happens if something horrible goes awry? God forbid, right? There's a lot of things, right? Zoom, right? We've got to have calls on Zoom. How do you connect on Zoom? How do you do virtual presentations, right? Budgets. The metaverse. I've already had conference as an avatar. This is coming. These are disruptive things that are happening if you are a traditional speaker. There were a lot of speakers, John, in our world, colleagues of ours, friends of ours, who during the pandemic said, that's it, I'm out. Not doing this again. Not going to reinvent myself again. And that's a choice. So we just have to keep changing and evolving. And I don't know, the answer is you got to keep learning, man.
These are great. I love this. And I know I got to wrap pretty soon. One is when you said that the changes of disruption, one of the things, around the conversation and the pronouns and all the other things. Denise Hamilton, one of our colleagues, just wrote a book called Diversibility. It is a fantastic read. I think I have it right here. And I'm sorry, indivisible. Indivisible. It is, we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and in that is indivisible. So what does it really mean to be indivisible? It is a crusher of a read. So I highly recommend that. I'm always promoting the metaverse. I love what you said there. And then you said, thinking about how we do that, picking up the phone. One of the things that I have shifted around is using the technology like BombBomb to so they can at least see my face into
Yeah, you're good at that. You
the
send
thing,
those out
right?
and connect.
Just
Yeah, I
to
love that. I've had you
connection.
sent me one before, and it was like, hey, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah, so it's like a in between. There's you
Yeah,
don't get a chance to I don't talk to you on the phone, but I show up in your inbox.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think those are ways of what's the we have these disruptors and these future trends that are coming, especially with the metaverse and all these things that are coming, and we have to have our head on a swivel. We need to um I got a little chippy during the pandemic because I saw some of the folks that I looked up to in the business, like you said, they started checking out, right?
yeah.
I can't make the shift. And then they started using words or downing words like pivot, you know. And I said, well, in basketball, pivot actually gives you four options, right? You can pass, you can shoot, you can dribble, or you can call timeout.
Right.
And is the reason we don't want to use the word pivot because we don't know how to pivot? And that's the that was a way I began to, Hillary Blair, one of our great colleagues, CSP, she helped me with to understand that why don't you just, invite people into your world? And that got me to really even think about my own ways I use words. And when someone says the new normal mindset, which is what I have coined for like 20 years, and people are jaded with the term, what I do now is I say, well, if new means no prior point of reference, you can't use old systems, old thoughts, old ideas and put into a new bucket to get a different output.
Mm,
So new and normal we need systems and processes. Normal, that's normal. So new normal is actually the right thing to use, but we're over it because somebody else has used it and kind of overused the word, and we don't take power back within
mm,
inside of it of what the actual intent was. So I see in disruptions going back to the basics and really understanding why certain things are used can help us navigate some of those times. I would
yeah.
love to get some of your closing thoughts on that as we get ready to wrap this show.
Yeah, no, that's well said, my friend. Yeah, that's you speak the truth. Yeah, at the end of the day, like you said, man, it just comes down to simple blocking and tackling, right? Picking up the
Yeah.
phone, making calls, solving problems, being easy, being flexible. Um, and really, to your point earlier about there's no one right way to run your business. We all do things differently. The way I've built a lifestyle business where I get to travel with my wife. I used to bring my kid with me all over the world. Now I live on the road, and we're here, we're there, and I enjoy the ride. I don't want to be
Mhm.
alone, and that allows me freedoms to do all sorts of different gigs and different opportunities. And I would just encourage everyone to find their way. Do whatever it is
Yeah.
you think is right. Don't feel the pressure, social media to have to do what everyone else is doing, and just do your thing. And that's the thing. If you're easy, if you're fun, if you're a good person, karma, it'll come back. You'll book a lot of business, and that's hospitality world is a relationship world. And
It is definitely a
if you're a good
relationship.
person, you're gonna get booked and give lots of referrals. Help those people. Help those AV people. Help them, man, and they'll remember you. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. We're going to be interviewing a young lady that kind of helped me understand that in the production crew in Orlando, Florida. Just amazing, things that I had done. But I want to thank you once again for being on the show. How do people find you? You're not that social. What's your social?
I'm on LinkedIn, and I've got a website, my rossbernstein.com, but I have nothing to sell. I'm not here to pitch. I'm here to be your guest and
Thank you.
hopefully help your listeners think a little differently and just to support you because I'm such a fan of yours. And I would throw it right back out there. If you want to help me, then you should hire John Register to come keynote your conference. He's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh. Well, I appreciate that plug. And you got to hire Ross if you can get on his calendar. That's the thing. 100 days a year. So it was don't be the prima donna was how he said to destroy your event. Don't make sure you're not the prima donna. Abundant generosity is what Ross also talked about. Just be generous. Always be in a giving mode. One of the things you talked about was karma. I think it's what we plant grows. So when we plant something, it grows in abundance. So you plant a seed, it grows abundance. You don't get one seed, one thing. You get abundance of it. So it's the law of planting and reaping. It's law of sowing and reaping. So that is fantastic. So again, we want to thank Ross to coming on the Amputate to Amplify podcast, gracing us with his insights of inspiration, taking us on a transformational journey by helping us amputate fear and amplify our life. I'm your host, John Register, a professional speaker, guiding us through the transformative journeys of some of the most inspiring leaders in the business events world. Remember, it's not just about facing challenges, it's about converting them into your greatest successes. We again thank Inspired Communications International for sponsoring the show. Inspired Communication International, working with business professionals and leaders who are ready, keyword, to hurdle adversity, amputate fear, embrace a new normal mindset to win the medals in their lives by delivering interactive keynote speeches, fireside chats, sales kickoffs, year-end celebrations, and much more. Continue your journey of transformation. Just find me online at johnregister.com and share this podcast with your besties and mosties. Keep on amplifying your life. And until next time, stay vitam inspirare, which means breathing life, and go forth, inspire your world. Catch you next time. Bye for now.